Okay, we will call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. We thank everybody for coming today. Chris, could you tell us who's attending via Zoom? Or,
They'll need to announce themselves.
okay, we do have some Zoom attendees this morning, so hello to you as well. Have a little pre-announcement today. We welcome our new city manager, Scott Minton, to our Public Works Committee. I think you pretty much know all of us by now, with potentially one exception, but I will introduce our members and it can also serve as roll call. We have Thomas DeWitt, City Councilman Mike Rackler, City Councilman Steve Davis. My name is Mike Davidson. I also want to extend congratulations to Steve for his new role as a city councilor. So we do wish you the best of luck. We'll move to the minutes. We're dealing with two groups of minutes this morning. The minutes of March 26th meeting have been published and distributed. And please note the following corrections. We've got several to go through regarding this meeting. Under meeting commencement and roll call, Mike Davis should be Mike Davidson, myself. Under approval of minutes and agenda, a draft contingency plan should be drought contingency plan in both instances. Under vacant property ordinance, the word liens should be L-I-E-N-S and not L-E-A-N-S. Under other city business, where it says Public Works is cracking down on leaks and sending out certified letters to its members, that was actually Ursula from Roosevelt County Water Co-op telling everyone here at Public Works that the water co-op was cracking down on leaks and sending out certified letters to its members. Under water rates and leak surcharges, where it says city already enforces water conservation through tiered rates, that is backwards. That was also Ursula's that stated the co-op already enforces water conservation through tiered rates. And under drought contingency plan, where it says the city's drought contingency plan was based on the co-op's plan, that is backwards. It's the other way around. The co-op's plan is based on the city's plan. So considering these corrections have been made public, do we have a motion and a second to approve these minutes as corrected?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Is anyone opposed to this? Okay, minutes from 3/26/25 have been approved as verbally corrected. The minutes from the June 24th, 25 meeting have been published and distributed. Please note the following corrections regarding this meeting. Under meeting commencements, that is Thomas DeWitt would be D-E-W-I-T-T. Under reuse water and North Main intersection, that should be on behalf of Mrs. Baca, and that is B-A-C-A. And where it says Miss Baca asked a certain question, she was not in attendance. That was Thomas asking for a follow-up questions. Miss Baca had asked at a previous city council meeting, for the record. Under comment by Eldon, that should be E-L-D-O-N. Consider these corrections have been made public. Do we have a motion and a second to approve these minutes as corrected? Okay. Okay. Minutes from any objections? Okay. Minutes from 6/24/25 have been approved as verbally corrected. The agenda is published in advance. Could we have a motion to adopt today's agenda? Okay, and so we adopt agenda of 7/29 with by unanimous consent. We will be discussing items specifically on the agenda, and we will conclude with members of the Public Works Committee, city staff, and the public having the opportunity to comment up to 3 minutes. As a point of order, please indicate you wish to talk and you will be given the floor, and please respect that while someone has the floor, let them speak without interruption. The first item on the agenda is introduction of new city manager Scott Minton. Scott, is there anything that you wanted to add to today's introduction?
Not too much. I've introduced myself to a few people who I have not met before. Steve, we shook hands and formally met, although we've seen each other before, but glad to be here. Thank you. No other comments.
Okay, thank you very much. Next up is a presentation, a discussion, government capital. And I do not have who chairs that discussion.
So I'm going to go ahead and get things rolling here. My name's Kirk Barnett, and I'm the regional manager for Advanced Monitoring Solutions for Core & Main. And I've been the one that's kind of been working directly with the city on kind of putting this presentation together. So we're going to have a few different people. Ray Richardson, I believe, is on site with you guys. And then he's with Core & Main as well, and he's our meter specialist. And then the next person that'll speak after Ray will be JP Reisenhuber, who's with eLinks, who will be discussing the SCADA system that we're proposing for the city. And then following that will be Ken Busong, who is a software specialist with Baseform. And Dee Swear from Government Capital, who will be discussing the finance. So with that, I would go ahead and let Ray kind of do his presentation discussing the Neptune metering system.
Okay. Thank you, Ray.
So I'd like to thank the committee and the city manager for allowing us to come here and present our comprehensive meeting system to the city of Portales. As Kirk said, I'm the senior product specialist. I specialize in automated meter reading systems for Core & Main. I've been doing this for 24 years. Just a little background on our company and how we will approach, if we become partners with the city in this project, how we will approach this project. Core & Main is a nationwide company, but we have a lot of local presentation. We have several of our branches surrounding here. We have branches in Farmington, in Albuquerque, in Las Cruces, in El Paso. Our closest branches would be Lubbock and Amarillo. So you're kind of surrounded with our branches, so you always have the service. That's one of the things we say. Anybody can sell you material. How can we set ourselves apart? We set ourselves apart with service. My job is not to sell anything to you. My job is to tell you what we're presenting to you, and then you make the decision whether that's going to be what you want. We have other people that sell. And that being said, I'm part of a comprehensive meter team that Core & Main puts together for any of our meter projects. We have me, which is a product specialist, which I come in and try to figure out what the city really needs or really wants, what they want to accomplish with going with an automated meter reading system. Once we figure that out, then I coordinate on, okay, this is what it's going to take to do that. And then I also help coordinate the total project. We also have SSIs that are part of our meter team, which they will come in and work with you on the software side. They will work with the city to ensure, what we want to ensure is that when we start this project, that it becomes a project that is integrated within what you're doing now and not disrupting what you're doing now until the project is finished. And we will talk to the city throughout the project. We will coordinate with the city to make sure that in your meter reading schedule, we're not changing meters at the time you're reading meters. That happens a lot in projects that you don't coordinate. And so all of a sudden you've got meters that you've changed out and you don't have the reads for that month for meter reading. So just little things like that we have done in the past. Over the past 24 years that I've been involved, we've evolved to make sure that we can seamlessly make this project go forward. That being said, let's talk a little bit about our system. First thing I want to talk about is our software. Our software is we call it Neptune 360 software. It's a web-based software. So why do we go with a web-based software? Which means your data is stored off premise. Over the past 5 years, I've seen 4 of my customers, our clients, get hit with ransomware. Not just meter reading, the whole city computer system got hit with ransomware. A couple of the cities said, we're not going to do it. They lost everything. So that being said, the industry looked, and we're not the only ones that do off premise. The industry looked and said, you know, we need to protect this. So what we do is we store your data in 5 different locations. It's your data. You can have it 24/7. The only time it would not be available to you is if we're doing upgrades. The upgrades are done seamlessly. They're done on the weekend or at night. You're always informed that these are going to take place. They usually take place from midnight till 6 a.m. We try to do it on the weekend so it doesn't disrupt your city services. And then you come back in on Monday, it's done. You don't know. Of course, you know it's been done, but you don't see any adverse effects from that. So the software has a lot of function. We provide you with a lot of data through our software. You also have a lot of data through your billing software. So there's some redundancy there, but we give you a lot of different reports. And one of the things that I look at with automated meter reading is, you know, if you're just getting it to read meters, you're losing about 90% of its potential. With automated meter reading, you're getting reads with AMI, which that's what you are looking at, which means you'll have collectors that will collect the reads and send them to a specific location. And that location could be as many as you want. It could go to your public works director, it could go to your finance, it could go to your city manager. That information can go anywhere you want it to go. You just assign individual passwords and individual computers, and then it can go to the different departments that you want it to go to. You're going to get reads every 15 minutes on your meters. Every hour, our system saves that read. Every 24 hours, those hourly reads are back hauled to whatever computers you want it to go to. So you're getting a snapshot of what your system is doing every 24 hours. Right now, if you're reading meters every 30 days, you don't know what's happening with your system for 30 days. With this, every 24 hours, you're going to see, especially when we incorporate the SCADA into it, you're going to see with the SCADA, and I'm not going to get into that. We've got somebody else that's going to talk to it, but you're going to see a lot of data, water usage data, pumping data, tank level data with your SCADA. With your meter reading, you're going to see how much water, every 24 hours, you're going to see how much water you've produced and how much water you've sold. So that's going to give you a snapshot of how efficient your system is. So if you know, and I'm just throwing these numbers out, but if you normally pump 100,000 gallons in a 24-hour period, and boom, you come in tomorrow and you pumped 150,000 gallons, and you normally sell 90,000 gallons of that 100,000, and all of a sudden you're still selling 90,000, but now you've pumped 150,000. You know immediately something's happened. Could have been a fire, could have used a lot of water. You don't know, but it gives your public works people, your utility people, a tool to say, we need to look and see why we produced 50,000 gallons more water this 24-hour period and didn't sell 50,000 gallons more water. So that gives you that's some of the data that you get from it. So that's kind of it in a snapshot. I know I'm limited to time, so I'm just giving you an overview of what it is. The other thing that we're going to provide to the city is a customer portal. This customer portal, we call it My 360. This customer portal is integrated with our 360 software, which will give your citizens the ability to look at their water usage every day and see how much water they've consumed every day. This helps with conservation, if they know, and they'll see the trend. I'll guarantee you, they'll see their trend, and they'll say, okay, I use it 80, 100 gallons of water a day. They wake up tomorrow and see they've used, once again, 150 gallons of water. They're gonna start looking and saying, why? Why did I use 50 gallons of water more today than I normally use? It'll also give you high water, give your customers high water use alerts, alarms. One of the great things about it is if you go on vacation, you can still get onto the portal and see if you used any water at home. If you're on vacation and you're using water, yeah, you may have a sprinkler system or something, but if you don't, you're using water, you can try to find out exactly why you're using water when you're not home. So that's kind of the software in a nutshell. Now, how do we get this information to you? The way we do it is with what we call R900 collectors. We've done a prop study for the city, and we found that there's 2 locations. You'll need 2 collectors, 2 locations for those collectors that will collect 99% of your meters. I never say 100% because that's ridiculous. There's going to be something, somebody's going to park a car on it or something, and you're just not going to get that read that day, but you're going to get 99% of the reads. That's what we shoot for with the propagation study. One of the collectors will be at near the detention center, and another one on the south end of town. So with those 2, there's kind of redundancy. If one of them actually went down, in the looks of the prop study, we could probably pick up 75 to 80% of your meters with the one that's not down, while the other one's being repaired. And the great thing about our system is it's not an all or nothing system. If you guys decided to purchase a drive-by unit, if one of your collectors went down for some reason, or you didn't get a read on a meter for some reason, you can jump in a vehicle with the drive-by unit, drive by and pick those meter reads up. There's some systems out there that if you're reading with collectors, you can't read with mobile. Ours doesn't care what you read with. So you've got some redundancy there too. You're never going to lose meter reads for billing purposes. So once again, that's the collector in a nutshell. So it's all well and good that you're going to have this all of this data, but the data's got to be good data. And the way we get you the good data is through our meters. We're offering the city what we call the R900 Mach 10 meter, which is a non-moving parts meter. It uses ultrasonic to read the meters. It's a tried and true proven technology. But there's no moving parts. Why is that important? Because with our residential meter, which I just happen to have one of those here. This is our residential meter. Okay, it's called R900I Mach 10. The I means all of the transmitting units are built into the meter. So there's no external transmitter. The transmitter is right here. As you can see, we've kept our inlets and outlets brass. We don't do plastic, because plastic, most meter setters are copper or brass, and copper and plastic, when you're trying to connect them, sometimes they don't jive and you'll strip threads. So we've chosen to stay with brass, and we can do that because this meter is totally made in Tallahassee, Alabama, all the way from the brass founding to the total assembly. Everything is made in Tallahassee, Alabama. So the non-moving parts part of it means that this meter, this residential meter, Neptune guarantees the accuracy on this meter for 20 years. That accuracy is to repaired meter standards, which means that it will be accurate within plus or minus 1.5%. If for the first 10 years, this meter is inaccurate, basically it's bumper to bumper. If this meter stops working or is inaccurate for the first 10 years, for any reason other than can't take a hammer to it, but if it just stops working, it's fully replaced free of charge for the first 10 years. For the second 10 years, it's prorated out. Okay? So we are offering you this meter from the residential side all the way up to the largest diameter that you're purchasing as a non-moving parts meter. The accuracy on non-moving parts meter, very low. This meter will read down to 100th of a gallon. Okay? Nobody bills to 100th of a gallon. Nobody bills. If you read this, when the collector reads it, the collector reads down to 1/10 of a gallon. Normally, billing systems don't care about anything under a gallon, but we give you that in the raw reads once again, so you can see if there's a leak. It's the other thing that this meter does. It does leak detection, backflow detection, and stop meter detection. We break the day down into 96 15-minute periods, and this meter looks for water usage. Our system looks for water usage in all of those 15-minute periods. If it sees that, it says, there may be a problem here. Nobody uses water 24 hours a day. Sometimes they sleep. And sometimes they're not using water. So if it sees that, it's just an indicator. They could have left garden hose running, might not necessarily be a leak, could be a truck stop where they're open all night, but it's an indicator so that you've got more data once again to make decisions with. Right now, if someone has a leak, you're going to find it in 30 days. So if it started leaking the day after your personnel read the meter, you've got 30 days of lost water there. Not lost water. Somebody's going to pay for it. The city's either going to give a credit or somebody's going to eat that. With this system, within 24 hours, you're going to have an indicator that a person's had a problem and you can fix it. Right now, if a meter goes bad the day after you read the meters and stops reading for any reason, it's 30 days till you know that. Once again, that's 30 days of lost revenue, or you guess what they use, you estimate what they use. With this meter and with this system, you're going to know within 24 hours that meter has stopped. Because it's going to say no water went through this meter for 24 hours. Now, of course, people can go on vacation, so they may not use any water. Those are some of the things that you can work out. And many cities have it. You know, they say, okay, well, if we don't see any water usage the first day, that's okay. But if it goes on for 3 or 4 days, we're going to go investigate. And that's up to you, how you set your parameters. But that's basically our system in a nutshell. You know, the presentation I was told you only got 15 minutes. The presentation that I gave you normally takes about an hour and a half, because we go in depth. We don't have that time here, but we're here to answer any questions you've got. I've given you guys my card. If you have any questions, you can call me on this, how the system works. And of course, I'm here until we're finished with our presentation to answer any questions you have. Okay. So if you want to wait and to ask questions, or if you want to ask questions now, that's
Okay.
up to you.
Does anybody have any questions for Ray at this point? Steve? I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Is this proposal including the well field and the residential and business meters?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
Okay. Well, we appreciate it. Very interesting.
Once again, we appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Thank you. Now I'll turn it back over to Kirk, and he'll introduce our next presenter, our next partner.
Thank you all.
Okay, so one of the things in discussing with Chris, one of the big needs for the city was to also get their SCADA system upgraded. So we brought in a company by the name of eLinks, and they started in the oil field doing SCADA, and quickly realized that there was a huge need on the municipal side as well. So I have JP Reisenhuber, who's going to discuss his SCADA portion of the program.
Thank you, Kirk. I appreciate that very much. Appreciate you all allowing me to be a part of this presentation. Yes, my name is JP Reisenhuber. I am the Water Solutions Manager at eLinks. I've been with the company for about 6 years now, but eLinks we are out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. We are a cloud-based modern SCADA platform. We have been around since the year 2000. Like Kirk mentioned, our background started in the energy sector. We moved in not too long after that. We moved into working with municipalities and on the gas utility side. And then almost 7 years ago, we moved into the water side of serving those municipalities across this part of the U.S. So just going to visit for a few minutes here about our potential contribution to this project out in the well field and tank sites, to where eLinks has proposed with Core & Main that we, like Kirk mentioned, we would be at certain sites, we would be upgrading some of the existing monitoring and radio communications equipment at those sites that are currently on a legacy, I believe it's a DataBoss service. And we'd be looking to upgrade with some newer hardware and cellular communication packages, and then deploying those same upgrades to sites that are currently not on SCADA, but that the system would like to bring in with the existing sites. And that way it's bringing everything that the city needs operationally onto a modern SCADA application. So just walking through some of the highlights of how our system works, some of the unique features and functionality, and where I think we will align really well with this project. So the way our platform works is that once this new hardware, the cellular communication packages, are deployed out in the field, then these are talking to eLinks, talking to the platform, to where operators will be able to see data updates coming in from each site at a minimum of every 15 minutes, 24 hours a day, and then up to every five minutes if they choose to do so. The cellular modems is also not only how we are bringing the data from the field back to where the operators can see it, but what's neat about the cell modems that we utilize is that they're very smart, and we're able to program them to crosstalk to each other. So that's where traditionally your radio system, that telemetry, is doing the crosstalking from a well to a corresponding tank site. So we're doing that with these cell modems to allow the sites to communicate with each other, to call a tank and call a well to send water to it, and then to stop sending water to it. And then the operators will be able to see all of that, seeing these data updates, seeing what wells are online, which wells aren't, and how much water are in the tanks. I mean, and we have definitely seen, I know radio has been the dominant telemetry option in terms of with SCADA for years. Our company has more than enough experience around the radio systems, but we have really moved away from it, and we see where the market is continuing to move away from that traditional radio system to cellular. We just found that with the cellular communication fees are continuing to be very cost effective. The cellular systems are very easy to maintain in the long term. The modems are in enclosures at ground level. So we have found that a lot of our customers and operators don't have to worry about some of the traditional radio pain points that you experience, especially, items such as line of sight between the radios, whether you have to mount a radio on top of the tank or putting it up on a small tower somewhere out in your field. And the way radios are worked, kind of the way you build these chain configurations from the radios talking to each other, a big pain point is you get one radio down in the system, and then that radio can cause everything behind it to go dark. So one radio down at one site can potentially cause massive comm failures at multiple sites. So with the cellular, it allows each site to crosstalk just like radios, but then it also allows these sites to be independent of each other, so that if one site is down, it is exclusively to that one site. So we know that we have seen it's a talking point that comes up with a lot of our projects. If you're using cellular, well, what does the cell service look like out in the field, where these wells are, where the tanks are? So one way that we have solved that is that we use a multi-carrier SIM. And that multi-carrier SIM is to ensure uptime at all these sites. So the SIMs work with all major carriers. We sent our manager of field services. I know he went and conducted a field survey at all the sites that the city is wanting to put into a SCADA system. And we used a device with a comm device with that multi-carrier SIM in it. And we confirmed at every site that it will link up with our modem and that multi-carrier SIM. Now the SIMs too, on top of not just only working with all the major carriers, they're designed to always be watching those carriers. So if you have a site talking to T-Mobile or Verizon, whatever signal's strongest, that's the one it's going to latch onto. But if it sees T-Mobile start to have an outage and sees that Verizon's a stronger carrier, then it's going to switch over to Verizon on its own. It's nothing that eLinks has to do manually. The operators don't have to be monitoring that. They don't have to tell the modem to switch. It does it on its own. So that allows for maximizing uptime to ensure that data is being pushed out to the operators and that they're seeing those live data updates as well as receiving alarm notifications. In terms of the security of these modems, those SIM cards, those are private IPs that are behind our secure firewalls to ensure that no unauthorized individuals can access those modems, and that data moving between sites and to the cloud are very, very secure. Part of the eLink service is that we have built-in schedules to where our support staff, we're pushing updates to those modems to ensure that they have the latest firmware updates and security patches. Again, to ensure uptime and reliability, and that is zero effort required by our customers or your operators. I apologize, my computer froze there for a second. So again, I know I said that we have already verified that the sites that the city would like to bring in will work with those multi-carrier SIMs at each well site and each tank site. So from there, the sites are cross-talking via the cellular modems, and then that data is being pushed to our cloud platform to where the operators can see their data from any device with any internet connection. And the service comes with unlimited users, and each user can be logged into as many devices as they need to be. It doesn't require, there's no master site, there's no home base where an operator has to go drive out to a facility or drive to a panel or an enclosure somewhere out in the field that has an HMI screen where they then from that spot they can see to see what is going on at every site throughout the field. So then what we do there, we also will then work with the operators and work with our utilities. So now that we've got sites are cross-talking, data's coming in, where we work very closely during a new project, during a training and implementation process to where we are doing data verification, saying, okay, are you seeing all the data you want to see from each well site? Are you seeing the data you want to see from the tank sites? Now, most importantly, we don't want to just see data. We want to be able to create alarm set points around these sets of data to ensure that when there is an event happening at a well site, at a tank site, your operators are going to be notified of it. We have very robust alarming capabilities that we can alarm off of any set point inside of the application, and that we can send those alarms out to one user or to 100 users. And we can tier those alarms. We can they can be very customized, again, to ensure that there's an event occurring out in the field at a tank site, that your operators are going to be notified of it. Once that data is inside of eLinks, we have got a lot of fantastic functionality and features that your operators can benefit from. Really robust reporting features inside the application. We can help build custom reports, saying, hey, we want to go out and capture any data coming into the platform, put those into a custom report, automate them, and then send them to anyone inside the organization, whether it is to an operator, if it's to an engineer, if it's to accounting. It's very easy for eLinks to build those out with our customers. In terms of getting data out like that in a report, it's important too that eLinks, we've gotten really good over our years working in our different industries, that eLinks, very easy for us to exchange data with other systems. And we have multiple ways that we can do that, whether it's through our API or we're doing scheduled imports or exports, or just more traditional data file exports or imports. So it's very easy to work with other vendors, other IT groups to get data, to get your SCADA data out of eLinks and into another platform, into another software. So then that SCADA data is benefiting, is being used in tandem with other data to help with your operations. In terms of us being a cloud platform, we are on Microsoft's cloud service. We are on Azure. We leverage 2 of their data centers at the same time in Chicago and San Antonio. This is something that we've done that just it helps ensure system uptime and ultimately the security of your operational data. We always tell our customers, you're benefiting from the hundreds of millions of dollars that Microsoft spends annually to keep those data centers up and running and to keep that data secure. With that too, we have never deleted data from any customer in our almost 26 years of being in business. That a customer, a municipality, your operators at any point, whether it's in year 1 of service, 5, 10, or 15, anyone inside the organization can go back and request data from eLinks if they wish to study looking at data from a specific well from 5, 6 years ago, or tank data. That's easy, that we are able to go retrieve that, put it into a report, and get it out to whatever business group needs it. Every 2 weeks, to support our cloud platform, every 2 weeks we have an in-house product team that is they're the ones that have built this out. They're the ones that take care of this platform. Every 2 weeks we're pushing system updates to the software, security patches, updates. No effort required by our customers. So that again ensures uptime, reliability, and it's all happening behind the scenes. And then being a software company, being cloud-based, we take our security and uptime of the platform very seriously. Coming from the energy sector, we have customers that have to meet very strict regulatory compliance. All that data moving from your field operations to our platform is encrypted. We have great functionality. We encourage our customers to benefit from multi-factor authentication or single sign-on capabilities. eLinks, we regularly perform security audits and testing through penetration testing of the platform. We perform system and organization control audits. We are SOC 2 certified, which is it's a security compliance standard that focuses on how we protect our customers' data and demonstrate that cybersecurity practice. So again, we know that is continuing to be a large talking point around any kind of remote monitoring, alarming service, any kind of SCADA system, especially if it is cloud, or how it doesn't matter what communication packages you are using, but it's making, we check every box that might come up in terms of what a internal IT group would be looking for, to know that this SCADA data is very secure out in the field between sites and ultimately getting back to your operators. And then again, we have a very robust training and implementation process that all new projects, we are very organized, calls of pre-install, during installations, post-installations. All users are familiar with the software, and that typically goes on for several weeks to a month after install of scheduled calls to ensure that the operators feel very comfortable with eLinks and how the system works. Is all the data there they need to see? Are all the alarms there they need to see before and all of that is checked. We have a fantastic team member that's all that individual does are these onboarding and implementations, and has a great process to walk through to ensure that our customers hit the ground running with their new SCADA system. That's all I've got. I appreciate if y'all have any questions, be more than happy to answer right now, or can take them later. But I want to be respectful of y'all's time and the other vendors' times.
All right, thank you very much. Kurt, can you tell me how many more speakers you have by chance?
We have, so we're going to have 2 more. The next gentleman is Ken Bossong, and then DC Greer, and then I'll kind of close things out.
Okay. Mindful of time.
got three people mic'd up. Some of you need to mute.
Hey, everybody. Can you see my screen? My name is Ken Bosong, and I wanted to ask if you can see my screen. And is it me or are you looking at a presentation?
We can see your screen.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Kirk, just one more time. You can see the screen and the presentation, correct?
Correct.
Good. Well, thank you very much for allowing me to talk, and I'll move through this pretty quickly. My name is Ken Bosong. I am the president of Baseform in North America. I have been with the company since 2017. Our organization was founded in 2014. We incorporated here in the United States in 2017. We deal with the linear assets within water and wastewater utilities. That's all we deal with. We're 100% focused on the linear assets, which quite frankly is very, very important because there is a statistic that about 75% of the assets within any water or wastewater utility are underground. So all the pipes, the meters, flow meters, and all those kinds of things. We were founded in Europe. And why is that important? Well, dirty little secret is that over in Europe, they've been dealing with the problem of decaying infrastructures, the decaying pipes for centuries. And so they have a big head start on how do we solve those problems. So what is Baseform? We are a software that our clients use. In this case, it could be and will be the city of Portales if we are successful here, as well as consultants like Core & Main, who's a dear partner of ours, to monitor, understand, measure, predict, and plan all components of the underground assets. So we're saying a lot there. That means reducing water losses and controlling non-revenue water, predicting pipe failures and the consequence of those failures, two different things. If we have a failure of a pipe, it's a bad thing. But if we have a failure of a pipe underneath a roadway, and the consequence could be that roadway falls in, that's a very bad thing. So all pipe, how old it is, how long it's going to last, deep predictions around all of that. Act on pipe deterioration. So how and when do we need to replace our pipes? Prioritize renewals in strategic capital improvement plans. How do we package that up within the constraints that we have within a utility, financial constraints, whatever they may be, if those are in-house or if we're bidding those out, manage meter performance. And then we do all of this on the wastewater side as well, but we're here talking about the water side. So manage infiltration and inflow that'll cause overflows. All of this is around the key utility objectives of maximizing continuity, ensuring sensibility and compliance, and long-term resilience within the utility. So what does really that mean? So we offer a software for an unlimited number of users, whether it's consultants or people within the utility, for system mapping, metrics, and measures at any level. When I say at any level, it could be this group here, right? A little bit of a higher level, where we're talking about what's going on within the network. So the ability to search any date around what's going on with the zone or the water loss or the pipe decay in a particular area. And then maybe an executive level presentation. But then another level might be an operator view. Here we're looking at a particular leak in a portion of the network. And up on the top left in the GIS, you can see a little yellow dot. We have a leak that's going on. We're pulling in SCADA data. JP just talked about that data, and he made it very clear that his system interfaces very easily with other systems. Well, that's what Baseform does. We would be pulling SCADA data together to show where a leak is happening, when it happened. We're looking at a particular location right here, and we can see that the flow is outside of the normal flow. What happened? We know if maybe there's a fire hydrant that's being exercised. That's not important. And how it happened. And so When we have big catastrophic bursts, that's a great thing. We can get on them really, really quickly because the water's above ground. But the problem is when we have those leaks underground, our biggest factor is time. They might go on for 6 months, and it could be hundreds of thousands of gallons that are being lost that we're not aware of. That's on the leak detection side. And then here we are looking at a client down in San Antonio, as a matter of fact. And the red line is where the pipes are impacted by the railroads. And so those are pipes that are vibrating, and they have a very, very high likelihood of failure. So we're looking at the distance to the railway lines of pipes underground in our software. So we have clients all around the world, and a lot of clients here in the United States. Some of these are huge, 8,000 miles, San Antonio. Some of them are smaller clients, like the city of Traverse City, which is along the mileage of what you have in Portales. It's about 90 miles. Elko is about 110 miles. So we deal with large, very, very large clients as well as smaller clients, and we have a great group of clients here in the US. So how do we do what we do? This is going to get a little bit technical, so I put it in animation so you could follow. So Portales has clients that have a demand for water and the removal of wastewater. And you service those clients through the piping infrastructure. And within your organization, the utility, you have these different groups. Some of them are all together, some of them are separate groups. So you have engineering, capital improvement planning, billing. We talked about that, and they're doing functions that they do within those groups. They have various systems. We've talked about those systems here. So you have a GIS system. Today we talked about an AMI system. We talked about a SCADA system. So Baseform brings all of that data together in a common interface so that we have a continuously connected environment that brings all of the data from your GIS, your SCADA, your AMI together into an analytics layer to produce the results coming out of Baseform around when are pipes going to fail, how likely are they to fail this year versus 10 years from now, to help with our capital improvement planning. This is an example, and I know your eyes are kind of rolling back in your head, but this is very important because this is the water loss audit that is a requirement for the state of New Mexico. Each year, every utility has to present to the New Mexico Office of State Engineer around the non-revenue water that they have. It's an AWWA form. It comes directly out of the software. Each one of these individual boxes takes a lot of time to fill out. We need all of the data coming from these systems, from your billing system, from your AMI system, from your SCADA system, in order to fill in these boxes that are the requirement. And you really can't do that unless you put a team of 3 or 4 people for a couple of weeks or maybe even a month to do this. Unless you have a software like Baseform that automates this process. So that's an example of how that happens. We implement very, very quickly. I don't want you to read all of this, but I do want you to note that up at the top, those numbers are W1, W2, W3. They're not M1, M2, M3. They're W, meaning a week. So we implement very, very quickly to bring the data together, and very, very quickly within the second or the third week, you're able to see results, and we can do some analysis on all of the data that you have within your utility right now for things like likelihood of failure, the remaining useful life of every single pipe or every single type of pipe, consequence of failure, business risk exposure, which is adding those two things together, and coming up with renewal plans that are based on the requirements of the city. How much money do we have this year to replace pipes, and then which pipes should we then go ahead and replace? We talked about the water loss side of it, so an event detection capability. Events are what's going on underground. How do we find those leaks and things? And then on the metering side, bringing in that AMI data into the same system, looking at the performance, the error, and those kinds of things, and helping out with the replacement that's going to be going on with the new Neptune meters. What is the best approach to optimize that implementation based on how old the current meters are within the current system. Again, we are a 1 monthly cost. The cost is based on the miles of pipe. It's an unlimited user license. We are on phone calls with our clients every single week for the life of the engagement. Every single one of our clients we have weekly calls with to train, to find out what the issues are, and teach the individuals how within the utility how to use the software. And again, we activate in days. So that's the presentation of Baseform, and I will take any questions anybody has or turn it back over to Kirk. And I thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ken.
Okay, any questions for Ken? All right, the last presentation here will be from DC Greer with Government Capital. He's the one who's proposing the financing on this project. So DC, if you would, go ahead.
Can you hear me, Kurt?
You're muted.
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. Sorry for the delay. I'm in a parking lot at the Louisiana Municipal Association on my cell phone, so it took a little while to navigate through a cell phone. But my name is DC Greer, and I represent Government Capital Corporation, and we are a public finance company. It serves municipalities throughout the U.S. We are a 32-year-old company, and I've been in the public finance business for 37 years, and been able to service a lot of municipalities with key financing structures that help to meet their needs, just simply because there's a lot of cost, and most municipalities just don't have the kind of cost we're talking about for a meter project, to write a check. Core & Main is a valued partner as we work throughout the U.S. and we are one of the most important things that we do and have done. In fact, Kurt and I had a meeting with Chris. I guess Chris, it was a couple of months ago, I guess, and we saw the need and we proposed a preliminary financing term for review. That's always a good place to start, because the objection is, or the hurdle is, we need it, whatever the need is, but we don't know how we're going to pay for it. So that's the reason that what we bring to the table is of value, because it spreads out those payments over a period of time in the hopes of getting the payment into the budget. It's no different than, it'd be nice to pay cash for a $300,000 or $400,000 or a new home, but that doesn't happen for most people because of the expense. And so you go to a financing and you get you submit for a financing that fits your budget. And it's the same with the local governments across the U.S. So one of the things that we do is preliminarily, we propose a preliminary budget, not a budget, but a term sheet that shows the estimated cost and some terms and a current market rate and a financing annual payment in this case. And most of them are annual payments, especially on projects like this, because we can defer that first payment up to a year. And the reason that's important is because it gives you a year to get installed and start receiving revenue from the new meters, as they capture the revenue through the actual usage of customers. So we are at this point, we've been engaged with the city to find out what the final cost is, maybe what other terms they would like to see, and that's our core business. We only deal with municipalities. We do a lot of work with public safety, public works, public education. So that's our forte, is solving problems for local governments so that they can acquire the needs that they need in order to function and operate their particular municipality or section of the municipality. I really appreciate Kurt. Thank you for the time. Sorry for the delay. But our efficiency gives us a 98.6% ratio in the transactions that we are able to work with municipalities on to approve. And it just takes, sometimes it takes a lot of listening, sometimes it takes a lot of revising proposals, but eventually we work very closely with not only Core and Main, but also their potential customer in getting just the right financing that would be acceptable to their financing director, but also most importantly to the board. Water meters is a valuable product. It has the ability to capture that money that allows you to pay for the meters. That's the only thing that you can, in a municipality that is a service that is provided that has the ability to pay for itself. So we would welcome the opportunity to move forward. Or if you have any questions, we'd be glad to answer those. So again, thank you for your time. Sorry for the delay. So Kirk, I'll shift you back to you.
So any questions for DC?
Okay.
All right.
See here on the paperwork we've got in our kit, we're looking at a $4.41 increase per bill per housing. What are we looking at? Roughly?
The mic's not picking you up, Steve.
Steve.
You have to talk into the mic.
He was asking that he sees a $4.41 increase per household, and he wanted to confirm that.
Yes. Well, let me address that. That's based upon the proposal that was dated May the 19th, based upon that particular rate in payment, and also the 5,600. I'm looking at the proposal as well. 56 based on 5,615 meters. That was the cost per meter per month per tap. That can change. It can change if it's a different rate, if it's a different cost, overall cost. But that is relative to that particular proposal. And as we revise the proposal for different terms or different amounts, then that could change one way or the other. But you're exactly right. That's what that estimated cost represents, is that amount per household or per tap. Yes.
Okay, according to this proposal, that will cover our roughly $300,000 a year payment. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I did not catch you.
According to the proposal we have here that we see, that $4.41 per meter would cover our roughly $300,000 a year payment. Is that correct?
You're exactly right.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions for the gentleman?
Well, it's more, I think my question is more for our folks than it is for the presenters, but first of all, I'm glad to see we're looking at the finance side, but I don't think that's public works arena, in my opinion. Glad we know about it. Nice for us to hear it, but I think the finance is kind of out of our realm, in my opinion. But are we looking at three different things or a total package? What are we? I mean, I've heard three different things here. I've heard the meters, and the other software that does the.
It's a proposal.
Yes.
All three included.
That's correct.
The things.
Okay. Any other questions for these gentlemen? Okay. Kurt, did you have a summary or?
So, I mean, I had some numbers laid out, but if y'all feel that that's something that I really need to be dealing with Liliana on, then we can do that, or just however you want to finish this up.
Okay. Do we have a preference, Mr. Mitten?
I think that you should go for, like Mr. Rackler was saying, I think that what's on the table now is looking at what we were just briefed on.
Okay.
And then holistically looking on the other side, not in front of the oak right now, on the viability and cost, whether we can, let's deal with Liliana at the
Yeah.
city hall level and then come back after that, but not right now.
Yes, we have
Okay.
financial review that would be more appropriate for that, so.
Okay, and I'll be in touch with Liliana when I get back to Amarillo later this week and kind of go over the numbers as well.
Okay,
All
gentlemen,
right.
we appreciate it. Very, very interesting proposal. We appreciate your time.
You bet.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for you guys' time, and if y'all have any questions at all, if you would just Chris, if you just funnel them through me, and then I'll get them out to whoever it really needs to address the questions. All right.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for the time again, guys.
Thank you. You bet you. Thank you, Kurt.
Bye.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We move on to item D. Yes.
Just a quick question. I believe I heard you correctly the other night. We're down to just looking at this one solution. We had at one point, we were looking at two.
Yes, there was two. There were sustainability partners as well.
And we
And then
decided not to look at that anymore.
correct. For the hopes of SCADA, for the SCADA side of things.
To clarify something for me, or is this the same company that the co-op uses?
No,
A different company?
different company.
Okay, all right. Right.
Either goal.
No.
Okay. Any other questions regarding this core and main presentation? All right, we'll move on to item D, discussion, Water Trust Board 3 potential products. I don't have a presenter here, so is that you, Ashley?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we have three potential projects that we're looking at with the Water Trust Board, one being still with the Lime Street tank, we are rehabilitating it to make sure that we can sustain the water that we have coming in. We're looking to request up to $9 million in that project just to be able to fund the rehabilitation. The next one we have is for the well field. That same thing, Chris and I have gone back and forth on how we want to move forward with this, considering there's been so many ways and other things that we can do, and if we're going to drill any more wells, if we're going to keep moving forward and putting storage tanks. And I think we finally came to a conclusion that's what we're going to go for, is a secondary 3 million gallon storage tank. And that one we're going to try to request up to $10 million, if not more, depending on what is allotted. And then the third one, and this being a new one, is for the wastewater treatment plant, since it needs to have some improvements as well. Going over the corrective action plan that we got from Wilson and Company, it's looking to probably be about 1.5 million. And as of right now, with the details that we have with the wastewater treatment plant and what kind of compliance we need to get into, and that's something that was, like I said, with the wastewater treatment plant with the Water Trust Board is fairly new. So I got word there's not a whole lot of funding, so hopefully we can, move forward with this one and, just get the 1.5 million that we're asking for.
Okay.
So if you have any questions or anything in regards to any of these potential projects?
Just a couple.
Yes.
We've already, and this gets real confusing, so you'll have to bear with me, but we were really proud we got money from the legislature last year. And then we keep being told, well, we only get to do this much with it, and then more will come later, et cetera, et cetera. I thought we already had a whole pile of money for the
No,
Lime Street project and
with
for the
the-
well field, and
We could ask up to a certain amount, like every year. Okay, so for 2026, we can ask up to $24.3 million between each municipality. So between my three projects, I'm literally right there with, $21.5 million is what we can ask for, up to, depending on whatever phase you are in the project. As far as like the well field, yes, we asked for $19.5 million. We weren't able to get that because we weren't dig ready. So if we had the plan and design already done and we were ready for construction, then yes, we would have got the $19.5 million. But we weren't even there yet. We were barely in the first phase.
So that's why we only got the 3.5 million. So same thing with the Lime Street, we asked for 500,000 because we needed to get the plan and design done for that. So the next year for 2025, we asked up for $6.5 million and we're getting 4.5 because that's where we are in that phase to be able to show. So then this next year for 2026, I can ask for more. So because we'll be in the construction phase and we'll be able to use that funding to keep moving forward with that part of the project. So depending on where we are.
It's gonna take that 4 million plus what you're wanting to request this.
Yes.
Wow.
The project alone was
The
what?
wrong business.
Yeah. A little under 10 million for the whole project to be finalized.
So could I follow up with a question? So that was my original understanding, is that we had been approved, because we went back and forth on how much we were getting for 19.5 million. And I know this is something that you actually inherited. So are you also saying that by not being prepared, we just lost several $1 million?
It's not so much not being prepared, it's because whatever the Water Trust Board thinks that we can hold on to or proceed with, that's where we are. Because like, even though that the application process that was just given to me was plan, design, and construction, we weren't even near construction yet.
Okay.
We were just in the plan and design phase. So it's not saying that we lost out on that money. We just didn't have the opportunity to move forward with that money. But every year from here on out, we can request money, but it also has to go back to the, depending on how much monies we already spent for the, every year moving forward. So if I don't spend this money by, 2024 money by 2026, there's a possibility I won't even get that full 10 million that I'm requesting for, because of the part of the phase of the project that we're in. We have to have at least 93% of the funding's already spent.
Okay.
So, I mean, there's a lot of logistics in it when it comes down to it, but we're trying to do as whatever we can as quickly as we can to be able to move forward with each funding process for the 3 projects that we have.
Yeah, it's a giant project.
Yeah.
It's just
Yes.
a giant undertaking. Do we have any other questions for Ashley?
Yeah, how much is a new tank?
I should have brought that. I think it was.
I know you said up to 10 million for the well field, but does that include the?
Pretty sure
booster
3 million
pump?
gallon tank is a little over $4 million.
Give or take.
How big?
A 3 million gallon storage tank is over a little over $4 million.
And how big is the one at Lime Street?
3 million gallon.
So we're gonna spend 10 million fixing it, and we could get a new one for 4.
It's an underground storage tank, so it's a lot different. If it was above ground, a replacement would probably be the benefit. But since it's underground, there's a lot more to it than.
That's where project is going to potentially tap into as well?
Correct.
Right.
Does that add some criteria or expense to that tank because it is like heavier usage or something?
Not necessarily, and the storage tank itself right now is just it's more for potential emergencies as needed. But with the Ute project coming through, the allotment that we're going to get, we could potentially use that as a primary storage as opposed to just an alternative. So with that, they've given us a couple different scenarios on, like the Cadillac version of all the bells and whistles, and then we've kind of dwindled it down to just the needs of that.
Okay.
They looked at the gallery, they have a PER on it, and they're, I think, pretty close to the completion of the plan and design of it. So as soon as we get that out, we can send that to you guys.
Okay.
For review.
One other.
Yes.
The well field tank, 10 million, does that include the booster pumps and everything?
Yes.
Or just, okay.
Yes,
All right.
it's the booster, the tank, and the transmission lines.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Both of y'all. Item E on the agenda, discussion regarding meeting every 4 weeks, placing the next meeting as August 26th, 2025. I'm not sure who is heading that topic.
Shift it to the 27th.
Okay, so that's just a checkup on when the next meeting is?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. Item F on the agenda is recommendation to adopt resolution 2025-24 regarding the Public Works Advisory Committee and rules of procedure by Kimberly. Thank you, Kimberly.
So this is like, I imagine back in criminal defense when you're the last person to pick the jury and everybody is ready to go and the jurors are just looking at you like, be done. So I'll be very quick with you guys. Upon hiring at the city, my first council meeting was in June, very beginning of June. At that council meeting, Mr. Moyer, previous city manager, had proposed ordinances to place guidelines, rules, and procedures in place for Public Works Advisory Committee and Water Advisory Committee. Upon looking over those ordinances, I felt that necessary language was missing from them in order for them to be enforceable. Mr. Gallegos, our interim at the time, and I discussed that. We discussed it with Mr. Queener, who was currently the contract attorney for the city. He was in agreement with that, and so we pulled those ordinances. In reviewing those ordinances and trying to get them back up to what we would need them to be in order for them to be legitimate city ordinances, I had multiple discussions. I've met with the mayor, have had the opportunity to speak with the Public Works Advisory Committee on what their proposed rules would be, along with Water Advisory. I had worked with Mr. Gallegos at the time. I've now had the opportunity to speak with Mr. Mitten in his role as city manager. And then also some individual meetings with Mr. Davidson. I've had one with him and Mr. Davis. I tried to do my due diligence and getting all of the information that occurred before my time at the city, what was bringing about, what was prompting the need for this ordinance. At this time, I am requesting a recommendation from you guys from the committee regarding a resolution. The reason I don't want to go full ordinance is because I would like for the city to pursue it potentially a different way. That's what I've included in your packets as 4 and 5. These would be examples of what I would like to see the city move to regarding standing committees and special committees. So right now we do not have any ordinances for a lot of our standing committees. I've also included in the packet the one portion I could find in our city ordinances regarding a reference to the Public Works Advisory Committee, giving you guys the authority to handle landscaping appeals. You do much more than that, right? You guys are having regular meetings, you're having these conversations, we're coming presenting things to you. And so I feel it's important to establish what those rules and guidelines are. And I would like to do it by resolution because I'm hoping that this can be the beginning of the format for how we move forward, where we define what our standing committees are by ordinance, and then we define what special committees are. I think of water as meaning to be this work group, this special committee, the water advisory group. I think that's how it was intended to be. It was going to be a special committee tasked with the water drought contingency plan. Once that plan was developed, it would dissolve until that water advisory committee would have another task. Because we don't have any rules, anything on paper, things have kind of taken a life of their own. And I think the committees and also the city is, where are we at with this? And so I think that by resolution, that will provide us a good starting point to get the distinction between council, standing committees, and then special committees. So I would like to use Public Works Resolution, Rules of Procedure as an example, a way for us to get started and see, are these rules and guidelines something that we put in place? Do they become beneficial or do they create more chaos? Do they need to be modified? A resolution is a lot easier for us to modify than an ordinance. And so that's why I would like to proceed with the resolution. First, give that a little bit time, room to breathe, and then go from there. So have no stake in the terms of it, just so we're clear about that. I know you guys do. And so I wanted to make sure that all of those terms were a collective effort from all of the meetings that were had. They're both beneficial to the city because that is my job to act in the best interest of the city. And then also to give you guys the opportunity to have discussion and then make that recommendation on it. So I have Included in the packet. The packet was disclosed yesterday. I apologize for that, but I wanted Mr. Minton to really be able to see first how the committees go, how these committee meetings go, and then meet up with him again to kind of circle back on that language. So any questions?
Questions about this?
I don't know if it's on this particularly, what we were discussing before the meeting, after our meeting yesterday with Water Advisory. It was my understanding as a council member that when we created Water Advisory was basically the subgroup we talked about yesterday. We were supposed to sit down and get nuts and bolts part done. And then bring that to this committee for recommendation to the council. And I think it kind of grew into a committee of its own, which made it now not a working group. So I don't know if that's part of this discussion.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
This is fine. I don't see anything personally. I just think we need to reevaluate what that water advisory group's role is.
Yeah, and I kind of feel like you're looking at me, and if you're looking at me for comments, I'm perfectly, I'm excited about rendering a couple. So if that's what's going on, let me know, and then I'll go ahead and weigh in, but if not, I'll step on.
Well,
this
go
up.
ahead and weigh in if you'd like.
Yeah, so again, a lot going on, and our counselor provided a lot of detail and the inner workings of parliamentary procedures and other things. But in my viewpoint, to kind of synopsize it, the standing committees are the ones that are pretty much standing statutes, and they stand the test of time. They're there and they're not going anywhere. When a piece of work needs to be done and we need a product that we can action, then that standing committee or the city council enlivens, if you will, a special committee. That special committee needs to do the delegated work at that time, knowing who, what, where, when, and why it's being done. They render a product to the committee over them that appointed them, either the city or the one in between, the standing committee in between. In Ms. Rudd's research, it looks to be that the Public Works would ask the city council for an appointment of a special committee, which would work as well, probably more streamlined like that. The special committee understands its tasks, its framework as far as time. It goes and it does that piece of work. It grinds the coffee and makes the sausage. It delivers a product. The city council votes on that product, yay or nay, we're going to do this or we're not. Once they decide they are or they aren't, it becomes a matter of public record. We do or we don't. And then probably the next thing that happens is a motion to dissolve that committee. That will be done later and we continue to do this process. Or we can give them 3 pieces of work or 6 pieces of work, but each one has to have parameters, left and right limits and due dates. And then we give the council something, they vote on it, it happens, and then we dissolve that committee. Otherwise, and that's the good part, that's the good news, that's clarity, that's the way it's supposed to happen. If we don't do that, we end up with a city council, a water or the Public Works Committee, a water or other committee, a tiger team to do the work, a special, task force to review the tiger team work, et cetera, and it never stops. So we have to streamline it, make the process, the council, the standing committees, appoint a special committee when necessary, which is often, we're going to do that, with parameters and end states to deliver products, and then we dissolve that committee and we do it again. I think I captured kind of what you're saying. Is that pretty close, Counselor? Okay.
So great. Let me inquire to either of you, but are you suggesting that the Water Advisory Committee be one of those committees that is implemented and then dissolved?
Yes, we would be moving forward to think of Water Advisory Committee as a special committee. So it will be tasked with specific tasks that will complete that task, and then it will dissolve until another task comes about. And what I would like to see, and I plan to discuss this with council and to see how they would like to address it. When we have these special committees, I would like for a counselor to be preside over that special committee, be kind of a standing point for that committee, so that there is somebody who's keeping tabs on them. There is somebody who is aware of what that work group is, who is on that work group, and then kind of have that task completed and report back to council. So I think that there's a couple of different ways that it can play out, similar to Mr. Rackler stated, where council tasks Public Works Advisory with something, Public Works Advisory then has the discussion on that, makes a recommendation that this needs to be work tasked deeper, right? This needs to be something more specialized, a very specific water issue. You guys would then make that recommendation to council that we believe a work group should be put together. Once council makes that recommendation, then they will, appoint who's on that, the task of it, the deadline of it. And then as Mr. Mitten stated, it would automatically dissolve upon that task being completed.
Okay. So let me give you some history, and that doesn't mean it can't change, but one of the reasons why this came down the way that it is now is, for one, actually most cities or a lot of cities in New Mexico have a water advisory board or a water advisory committee. And it was pointed out to us that we needed that. And originally, when this committee was formed, the overall part of it was going to meet about 4 times a year, just basically seasonally, to take into consideration the upcoming seasons, the situations with drought, other things that could impact our water security. With Portales, the situations with water between the wastewater treatment plant, the well field stress, lack of a cohesive drought contingency plan started requiring more and more meetings. So personally, I'm not sure I would agree with that committee being something that dissolved until our problems with water dissolved. But it doesn't have to meet as often as it does, and especially right now when we're literally in a state of limbo, because the direction we were going with a drought contingency plan has been kind of pushed back because of the tools that we were going to use to accomplish it, being electronic meters.
Councilor Mayor in. Okay, I think that I think you said it very succinctly just a moment ago. I think you captured the essence of it. And I would argue that one of the tasks that the water advisory, forgive me, I'm within reading glass range, is the water advisory board, the water advisory committee. Okay, so definitely talking in terms because words have meaning.
Yeah.
So we need to codify that. And then one of the tasks that I would argue we could add to the task list is that we define as a water advisory board, what is it that the water advisory board does? And what tasks do you need to work on? Now, I believe that you just said, if it were to be dissolved, it shouldn't be dissolved until the tasks that we have are complete. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's kind of what you just mentioned. I'm not holding you to your words per se, but I think you kind of nailed it right there. So we have a lot of other things that we need to do. And some of the kind of artistic license that a committee like this or the city council has to give to that committee or that board is tasked to accomplish. We know there's some standing there. But if it were a perfect world and we did solve those problems, and I think we both kind of agreed on this, that's the point where the thing would be dissolved. Now, it's not a process of trying to dissolve management or leadership or oversight and get rid of it. That's not the thing. It's the process of kind of reducing government, so to speak. Let's get it down to brass tacks, what we need to do. Let's solve those problems and do the work. So we got to provide those tangible, actionable products. And when we define those, we get them done and we vote on them. And then we put public works and we put finance against it to make those things happen. And I think we're kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah.
So if we solve those problems, then we do that with a metric, time and resources and other things, and reflecting, looking back and seeing how well we did. Then we take a look at dissolving the committees at the time when they're not necessarily needed for no reason other than just say we're holding a meeting type thing. And I don't think we're doing that, but we don't want to do that in the future.
I would agree with that.
So do we need to go back to council to get a specific purview and timeline? Because we never really got that.
That's what I'm attempting to do here. So I know that we're talking about water, but what we're doing first is public works, because water should be under that umbrella. And so the thought is that if we could have public works, and if you'll notice, I propose it have 7 members. You guys have 4 members right now. So that would be the potential for those that are on water and are interested in being part of public works. I'm hopeful that they're going to put in that application to have that appointment and then have them go into the role of that full 7-member public works, and then have council determine exactly how they would like the work group to go from there. It is my intentions to have it followed by ordinance as the standing committees versus the special committees. And if you look on our website, Christine has been working on that. There was a previous question to me by Ms. Parker regarding how are citizens going to know the distinction between our committees and our council? And words are important here because board is a very different thing, right? Board is something that actually holds the power, the local governing power, but committees make recommendations. And so that's what I'm wishing to do, is make that distinction, have that very clear to our citizens, to residents, to the members of the committees and members of council, and also employees of, let's begin a process of having recommendations go to Public Works, have Public Works make that recommendation up, have council sit with the information and say, maybe we need more investigation, maybe we need more research, maybe we need a work group. But I think right now we don't have any clear direction. We have 3 different organizations under the umbrella of the city of Portales not working together. And so it's all about efficiency. And I think Mr. Mitten said it very well. It's not about taking away governance or eliminating it, anything like that. It's just about efficiency. And let's use your knowledge and our resources as efficient as we can.
So let's get back to the public works still, because that's what you brought us today, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I looked through it. I didn't see anything globally problematic. I can tell that you took a lot of our input and considerations into this revision, and that's very much appreciated. I do have one objection and one suggestion, and possibly one question, if I can start firing off. Okay. Under item 8, where I believe one circumstance that should be addressed is the matter of succession. Since the committee selects its own chair and vice chair, I think there should be a clear provision saying that if the chair resigns or is otherwise unable to serve, that the vice chair automatically assumes that role of chair, and that a new vice chair is elected by the committee. This kind of reflects standard practice all the way up to the President of the United States. I mean, that's what vice stands for in many cases, not just to fill into the meeting, but they're gaining experience along the way, and they are somebody that the committee has elected. So it would make sense to me that that vice chair stepped up to that role. The one objection I had was to you have made a specific date per month to have these meetings, which kind of circumvents part of the problem of scheduling meetings and such. But then it goes back to saying, unless the city manager and or council calls for a meeting, that is pretty unusual. I know New Mexico Open Meetings Act, Robert's rules both suggest that the person that calls the meeting is the chair of the committee. And that's because this is supposed to be an autonomous group that operates separately from the city and from city council in that regard. And what's extremely unusual is for a city council to call a public works meeting. I couldn't find any city that utilized that at all. I would like to see that the chair, a majority of committee, or the city manager could call a special meeting aside from the one scheduled, and that the city council had nothing to do with that, because then we're getting down into trickle down micromanagement and or authoritative type of management, in my opinion. So if you would at least consider that.
Absolutely. That was half previously mentioned to me. I know that we had the conversation regarding the ability of the chair to also call the meeting. I have no opposition to that. If you guys would, and making your recommendation, if you would like that included in it. However, I do want council to be able to have the authority to still appoint something for you guys, for them to discuss. I want council, because if you guys are only meeting once a month, let's say, and you're meeting at the end of the month, I placed it that way because one, you guys already have that routine going, and two, because then we have 2 council meetings to get something to you, right? So you have, in July, you have both of those meetings for the end of yours. In the event that something comes up at council, I want them to be the ability for them to say, we need another, right? Public Works needs another meeting, as well as city manager. And I do think that that is a point worth considering for chair to have that ability also. But in my mind, chair would be working with city manager to call that meeting, right? So city manager and chair work behind the scenes to determine that.
I think that's the same thing with council. We might suggest to
City
manager that we think they need another meeting and let him work that out. I don't think the council needs to ask, direct that there's a meeting. I think we can just recommend to the city manager's council, we'd like to see Public Works take a look at this, and then he can schedule that with this one.
So in your mind,
Does that make sense?
absolutely, but let me just clarify. In your mind, you're at that council meeting, something comes up and we've already had, like, let's say it's the August 5th meeting, we've already had our Public Works Advisory Committee meeting. In that scenario, council would say at the council meeting, Mr. Menton, we need another meeting set, and then city manager's gonna set it. Okay.
And my thought is on that, we intentionally put this one where we've worked on this a lot, so in a year and a half I've been here, to make sure it's right before our first meeting of the month, so that if there's recommendation from this group, it gets to council for that first meeting of the month. And then if we come up with something in between that can't wait until their next meeting, then we can suggest that maybe they arrange a meeting.
May I weigh in?
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go back to defining terms. I think along with the articles of procedure I think we also need a glossary in defining terms, and let me tell you why. So as we're talking, I'm scanning, looking at the Open Meetings Act requirements, et cetera. And going forward, I want to make sure that a meeting is a meeting, a convening of people to do something may or may not be a meeting. That might be an in-progress review. That might be a convening to conduct work. And I want to make sure when we say that meets the requirement, and we have to have it in this type of form, that we are allowed to meet together to conduct work, or to do an in-progress review, which allows us to work, screen, make mistakes, refine, get down to a good product, etc. Because what I'm looking at is all the things that we may or may not do don't necessarily meet the meeting requirement. And so when we use the word meeting, what we say, that gives us the latitude to do work, but to not to be so constrained, and then to deliver a product in a public forum that's put out there on the table. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah. So I think we're saying sometimes when we're talking about in-progress reviews, we're talking about doing some work, and that further encumbers and burdens the system. And so we have some work to do, Ms. Rudd. I think we'll get after that a little bit and figure out how to package that. But we want to become more efficient, and I think that's what we're talking about today.
I have one follow-up question for Mrs. Rudd. You may not can answer it off the top of your head, but Mr. Rackler brought it up yesterday regarding quorums. And somewhere I had read that while our city council is subject to quorums and publications of potential quorums, that some of these subgroups were not subject to those same conditions. Is that correct?
So I wouldn't want to advise on the fly if you want to give me a specific scenario, but I can imagine a scenario where you guys are meeting under the public guise that you are the Public Works Advisory Committee in chambers. with city employees, and then that would not be subject to Open Meetings Act. I can't imagine a scenario where that wouldn't be right, because the whole intention and purpose of Open Meetings Act is anytime that we're talking about government business with a majority of the members, that becomes a meeting that is subject to Open Meetings Act, just like rolling quorum through email, right? Anytime you're having multiple people, multiple counselors talking on email, no, it's not a meeting, but it is still subject to, right, Open Meetings Act. So I can't imagine a scenario where you guys would have the ability to meet that would be outside of that.
Okay, all right, I was checking on something Mr. Mitten said yesterday about work groups and some of those other deals. And it certainly would be a lot easier for us to hash out unrefined details before some of these meetings if we weren't subject to quorum.
Right,
laws
absolutely.
and rules.
And I'm sure that's the sentiment for lots of local governments, right? But I think that's why, Open Meetings Act exists, stating, right, all about the transparency.
Well, is there any other questions? You've done a good job. It
Thank you,
looks
sir.
clean language and
So just so I'm clear, if I'm seeking recommendation today, it would be with changing the ability to chair to call the meetings as well as city manager, and then also adding some language regarding succession.
yes. And along with that, chair, city manager or council is fine, but
Perfect.
yep,
Okay, gentlemen, well, I'll leave it to you.
okay. Right.
And that voice was in the park, I think. Oh, okay.
Kid or something, back porch.
It's for your ringtone, mom.
Okay, we do have the opportunity for the public to speak for 3 minutes if anybody here wishes to speak. Would you like to speak? Okay, step up to the microphone, state your name and have at it.
Yes, I am Karen Inge. I am the Director of Habitat for Humanity, Roosevelt and Curry County. And I thought I was going to be on the list today to speak. We are trying to get our House 17 up and going, and I have a problem. We have our lot on county property, but city sewer. I need a sewer tap for this property. And I was told I needed to come and talk to you guys about that. So I had talked to Chris, and he said he would get me on the list today.
Okay.
And I don't know what I need to do. I have my survey, I have my house plans.
So outside city,
All sewers.
no, but outside city users, there's a spot in there, on the guidelines that it says outside city user comes and takes it to city council or public works.
And then, so we'd have to recommend that it go to council for approval?
That's the way it reads in that guideline. Let me see if I can pull it up here just to get you the exacts.
Can we? All these recommend to council.
Yeah, Karen, you threw us a curveball. I have never heard anything like that.
Listening to you guys and I'm going, all I want is a sewer tap.
It has been in situations where they didn't have adequate room or weren't necessary to a septic system. And they were directly adjacent to our system. If we gave them permission, then they could attach to the city sewer system.
But can we do anything if this is not on the agenda? I mean, I want to.
Yeah, we can't do anything. I know that.
I think that because it is just public hearing at this time, you wouldn't have the ability to make the recommendation,
Right.
but now that it has been brought to attention, it might be something that we can
Yes.
address.
Yeah, so you are now a matter of public record. And I believe that with the people in this room, from city manager to water directors, I'm sure you'll be able to have an answer soon.
Okay,
So.
all right. That's what I need. I'd like to get started in this build.
Okay,
Is it on our system or is it web?
And we have multiple units over there. that are-
Yeah, it's
that are
a
on
lot in that subdivision.
Yeah, it's just go up.
Red one.
Yeah.
It's red.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay. Let us try to find some solutions for you.
thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Is there anybody from the staff that would like to make any comments? To summarize the meeting? Anybody up here have any final comments? Guys, everybody? Okay, we have scheduled the next meeting and so with that, do we have a motion and a second to adjourn this meeting?
Oh,
Okay, we're done. Thank you very much.